Hello world, hello boxing fans, hello FightHype family, hello to all my people on the East Coast getting off work or you just got off work, and all my people here on the West Coast still at work, and to everyone around the world, all the great boxing fans in the United Kingdom and overseas and everywhere in between. Welcome again. It's the final countdown to Sean Z-Cap. Here we go. We got shout out to my man BT for maybe crafting one of the most intricately designed thumbnails we've ever had here on FightHype with the Grim Reaper praying. My compliments. But we're just going to wait for everyone to get in the chat. The news of the day really is that... just wait a moment here for... let me make sure that this is coming up, no problem here. But news of the day is that Terence Crawford has a mandatory ordered here. The number one rated guy by the WBO, it was Virgil Ortiz. As you see that red arrow pointing downward one, he was number one, but he's going to wind up fighting for the WBA regular, not the super, but the WBA regular title against Stanionis, Edemas Stanionis, April 29th. But the WBO belt then will, both guys managed by Golden Boy, Alexis Rocha, is now elevated to number one and has been mandated to face Terence Crawford. And an agreement has to be reached, within the next 20 days to reach an agreement for the bout. If no agreement is reached, the fight will go to a purse bid. So I'm just gonna let some people file into the chat, and we'll try to dissect all of this and what it really means. Wow, we already got 300 people in. That's amazing. Stephen Haynes saying never happening. Suki and Lamia saying Spence vs. Crawford will happen, just a matter of time. Linwood Davis Jr. saying this fight has been dead in my mind. Marvelous Irv saying I don't think this bout will happen till 2024. And Marvelous, that's why partly what we put is about Undisputed is if Spence and Crawford still happens at some point, is Undisputed though on its deathbed. A couple of scenarios where this could play out now because if Now, here's the thing. I think that the fight could still happen. There's still a chance the fight could happen next. There's a chance that what this announcement really means, and we everyone talks about the WBO being, we're Bob's organization, but really these sanctioning bodies tend to give in to the promoters, all the promoters, from Matchroom to PBC to Top Rank to Golden Boy, in various different circumstances. And so, part of me wonders, did Golden Boy pull some strings to hurry up and get this announced to help further persuade Crawford to come to their side of the street, so to speak, and to make fights over there at Golden Boy, because maybe they're worried about, the big rumor everyone's been talking about. Well, not everyone's been talking about, but that made the rounds, that here it is on the Spectrum pay-per-view that got shared around Twitter, that Spence vs. Crawford could potentially be happening on pay-per-view in June. And it turned out that Davis versus Ryan Garcia got pushed back a week. So this, how credible is this? Canelo versus TBD when everybody already knows that's John Ryder. So this wasn't the most credible tweet in the world. But maybe Golden Boy felt that, the clock was ticking because there is no official agreement for Thurman versus Spence yet. And even though Terence Crawford met with Oscar De La Hoya and Bernard Hopkins in Southern California at a recent fight, there's no official agreement there either. So maybe part of what this WBO order is doing is trying to kind of force Crawford's hand to go to the Golden Boy route and maybe set up a fight with Rocha and Crawford that would inevitably, hopefully, lead to Crawford and Ortiz, on the Golden Boy side of things. But I believe that if by some chance underground, Crawford and Spence are finally coming to an agreement for their next fight, because Thurman doesn't really want to face Spence at 154, and Crawford doesn't really want to go through with a Rocha fight. I think in that scenario, I highly doubt the WBO would want 3% of Alexis Rocha versus to be determined for the vacant WBO belt over 3% over Spence versus Crawford for millions of dollars. So even with this latest decision by the sanctioning body, I think if by maybe you could call it slim chance that Spence and Crawford wind up coming to the table after all in 2023 and fight each other next instead of Thurman and Rocha, I highly doubt the WBO would want 3% of Rocha versus TBD. So the fight could still happen next, technically, and it could still happen for Undisputed despite this ruling. But one way this ruling helps hurt Undisputed for Spence Crawford, even if it ever does happen in the future at 147 or 154, is that if Crawford goes ahead with this fight with Rocha, then that means Thurman and Spence in all likelihood happens next. And Spence will be up at 154 pounds. It's been reported. That's not confirmed. There's nothing confirmed. But if Spence goes up to 154 for that fight, it could be tough for a guy who fought his whole career at welterweight, a big welterweight, to get back down to 147 after a fight with Thurman at 54. And then, and so that's how that happens. And then also, by the time Thurman and Crawford would finish up with their next fights, Virgil Ortiz is now waiting for the WBA shot. And well, should he beat Stanionis? And I think he will beat Stanionis. And if Virgil beats Stanionis, that makes him WBA regular champion. And even if Crawford, if Spence dropped back down from 154 and Crawford still has that WBO belt because he went through with the mandatory versus Rocha, but they could wind up fighting, and Golden Boy and Virgil Ortiz's camp could really put their foot down and get Spence stripped of the full WBA title, and now it's just for 3 out of the 4 belts. Maybe Golden Boy is able to lock Crawford up for 2 fights, and Crawford defends the WBO belt against Rocha, and then Virgil Ortiz wins against Stanionis for the WBA, and then Spence sticks around at 54 instead of 47, and now Ortiz gets elevated to full WBA super champion. I know it's ridiculous, regular, super, interim, but he gets elevated to super champion, and now Crawford versus Virgil Ortiz is an in-house Golden Boy fight for the WBA and the WBO titles at welterweight. And then there's always the scenario, maybe there's a chance that with Tank and Ryan happening, and I would doubt this, I'd have to see it to believe it, but maybe there's a chance with Tank and Ryan happening that, at the MGM for Fight Week, Steven Espinoza, the PBC side of things, Oscar De La Hoya, Bernard Hopkins, maybe they're hitting things off, Ryan and Tank Fight Week, and business is going so good with the pay-per-views, they're making more money than they even thought they would make, and maybe dinner's going well at Wolfgang Puck, and they bury some hatchets, and they go, you know what makes more money than Crawford and Spence or Crawford and Virgil is Virgil and Spence. Maybe we could do that fight at Cowboy Stadium, but that's not the most likely scenario. And the question for Crawford is, if he did, say in a worst case scenario, he would actually get stripped of this WBO belt for not fighting Rocha, and he did agree to fight Spence yet. Would he really want to go back to the negotiation? Would he swallow his pride without his WBO belt at the negotiation table he already spurned once? I don't know. So, maybe it does feel like this WBO ordering is a little bit of the work of, the strings being pulled by Golden Boy. So we'll see. As for the fight itself, Alexis Rocha is not rated in the top 10 at welterweight by ESPN.com, but David Avanesian still is at number 9. And Alexis Rocha is a better fighter than David Avanesian. That is a step up. Let me check some in the chat. Is the connection okay today in the chat? We had a rough connection last time, Wi-Fi wise, and I hope it's not too rough here this time. But Ronaldo Mitchell saying Spence versus Thurman hasn't been announced, so we don't know who Spence is fighting. I agree, but if these fights aren't if Spence and Crawford can never come to happen, I think it's fair for us to maybe start moving on and hold Terrence's feet to the fire to make sure if he does go the Golden Boy route of things and fights Rocha, that he follows through and fights Ortiz, the young bull. And if Spence is going to stick around welterweight and the Crawford fight's not going to happen, that he fights the young bull over there with Jaron Ennis. If you guys can't wind up facing each other, then the next best thing is Crawford against Ortiz, Spence against Boots, or if Spence is going to stick around 154, fight Jermell Charlo. I don't know, Derek James has to spend 30 seconds in one corner, 30 seconds in the next. But one moment here, folks. But to look at Alexis Rocha, man, he is better than David Avanesian. And since losing to Rashidi Ellis, and that was a competitive fight, as you see on the cards, 8 rounds to 4, 8 rounds to 4, 7 rounds to 5. Ellis, better hand speed, fast guy, speedy Rashidi, was just a step ahead of him. But Rocha was in that fight, and since that fight, he's fought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 times in the last 2 years, which is very active for today's boxing. And he won 4 of those fights by knockout, including one of them against Blair Cobbs, which is a fight most of you saw. And he's only 25 years old. So the upside after losing to Rashidi Ellis, who is, was the veteran as compared to him. I think Rashidi, in his prime at 29, when they fought back, they were about 27, 23 years old. So, he had a little bit of experience on Alexis and that hand speed advantage. But I actually think Rocha is better than the guy who wound up beating Rashidi, Royman Villa. So he's good, but huge underdog against Terence Crawford. And even though Alexis Rocha, tall southpaw, tough Mexican kid, very fundamentally sound, very good balance in that southpaw stance, and very solid punching power. Not long arms at 5'10", so even though he's tall, he's not the most rangy guy. Crawford's more rangy than him. Crawford actually has 4 inches of reach on him, even though he's 2 inches shorter. But Rocha is no slouch. He is a top 10-ish welterweight and getting better at 25 years old, coming off 6 wins in a row, 4 by knockout. He's not as credible a fighter, obviously, as Thurman. If we're comparing Spence versus Crawford and who they're going on with next, he is better than David Avanesian. And it's one good thing for Crawford, if he's going to wind up fighting Spence next, or if he's going to wind up fighting Virgil Ortiz next, is that Rocha is a tall southpaw. So that keeps you ready for Spence, a tall southpaw. And he's also a tough Mexican-American fighter. So that keeps you ready for the other tough Mexican-American fighter, Virgil Ortiz. I just don't know if Crawford's really going to agree to a 2-fight, 3-fight deal with Golden Boy, where they could lock him into the fight that really makes sense for them, Virgil Ortiz. Because Virgil Ortiz, look, he would be an underdog against Terence Crawford, and he comes in with that high guard and is very fundamentally sound, very good double power jab, great combinations, 19 knockouts and 19 wins, or is it 20 knockouts, 20? Anyways, 100% knockout ratio. And Crawford at 35, is in his 1998, Michael Jordan 1998 prime, Kobe Bryant 2010 prime, LeBron where he's at now, still great, still putting up those same numbers you always have, but the towards the end of the prime now. And I think Virgil Ortiz, with his work rate, his jab, his punching power, his natural welterweight size, and his youth, coupled with Crawford getting older, he might be able to pull it off. With how Crawford gets hit more these days and the punching power of Ortiz, he might be able to pull it off, but he would still be an underdog because Crawford's the best counterpuncher in boxing, and he would pick that high guard apart. He'd find the seams in Virgil's defense and begin to pick them apart. But that would be a great fight, and I do hope that's the fight that happens if Crawford winds up fighting Rocha next, and the Spence fight is kind of up in smoke for good. So yeah, with this WBO mandatory being called, it's possible, not for certain, that Spence Crawford Undisputed's up in smoke, because the WBO, if they want, could technically strip Crawford even if he came to an agreement with Spence next, although I don't think they'd do that. They'd want their 3% of the multi-millions. But then also, if Crawford does go through with this Rocha fight and Spence moves up 7 pounds, he might not ever be able to come back down to 47, or by the time he does come back down and Crawford still has his WBO belt, Virgil will have been waiting on his hands holding the WBA belt if he gets past Stanionis. Now, if Stanionis upsets Virgil Ortiz, that stays within the orbit of Spence's camp, and they could just tell Stanionis to sit and wait with his WBA belt, and the Undisputed fight with Terence wouldn't be a problem. But today's news makes it just a little bit tougher for Spence Crawford to remain for Undisputed. And again, Crawford's a big favorite over Rocha if that does happen next. But Rocha is, to me, becoming a solid top 10 welterweight at 25 years old. He was competitive in his only loss. 6 fights since with 4. He's probably getting better at 25 years old. He's not a bad opponent. Thurman, the fact that he was the king of this division at half decade ago, still gives him more credibility as a threat than Alexis Rocha. But we didn't want to see Spence versus Thurman or Crawford versus Alexis Rocha, and we may have to start wasting our bullets, holding feet to the fire on Virgil going ahead and getting his shot against Terence, and Duran getting his shot against Errol. That is, if Errol's going to stick around at 147. So, yeah, and again, if Ortiz can get his crack at Crawford by the end of the year, I've never counted Ortiz out of that fight, because he's got a lot of youth on Terence Crawford, who's still the best counterpuncher in boxing, but his legs aren't quite what they once were, and he does get hit more now. So that would be a great fight. I do hope that's what happens if Terence is going to go the Golden Boy route. So let me just check here in the chat. We got about 250 people rocking with me. That's awesome. Ortiz turned the fight down twice, says Gabrielle. Gabrielle, great point by you to bring that up. That reminds me, Gabrielle, of what Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy did with Canelo Alvarez in the Gennady Golovkin fight. They turned that fight down in 2015 when Canelo won the WBC belt off of Cotto. Turned it down for 2 years. Then they took it when two things happened. And by the way, Gennady Golovkin was 35 years old, just like Terence Crawford's 35 years old by the time they finally made that fight. Two things happened. Their guy, Canelo, got more ready. He grew into becoming a full-fledged middleweight because he was still coming up from 54, and he hit his real prime at 27 years old, 28. And then Golovkin was still the middleweight champion, still a killer, but at 35, still Golovkin, still Triple G in that first Canelo fight, but the beginning of the end had begun. Just the beginning. Still, functioning at the top of his game pretty much. But at 35, just the beginning of the end stopped. And that's the stage Crawford's at right now. And Virgil's now beginning to get into the stage that Canelo was at heading into that first Golovkin fight. So Golden Boy has been wise to wait out Crawford for a year or two with Virgil Ortiz because Virgil would have gotten eaten up. His high guard defense just wouldn't have been able to hold up against the counter-punching. Crawford would have found the seams in that defense. And with Crawford has knocked out every fighter he's fought since Victor Postal. So he probably would have stopped the young bull Ortiz. But Ortiz since got to face Mean Machine. Now he gets to face Stanionis. He gets to face a couple of top guys in the top 10 kind of quality. And he gets more seasoned. He becomes more of a full-grown man in the professional game. And now he stands a better chance after this Stanionis fight if it does happen. So that I'm happy you brought that up, Gabrielle. Good to see Dane Sampson in the chat. Boots very powerful, goes for it. Oh, good to see Marvelous always in there. Nathan Cano, Ortiz, Stanionis, Crawford, all these guys are better. And Spence because Spence hit in another weight division. I'm just reading the comments. Rocha is mandatory. Indeed he is. Marvelous. All roads lead to Undisputed. Make the fights happen, PBC and Golden Boy, says D Shuffle. Yeah, and I talked to Bernard Hopkins about just that yesterday. Interview will be up soon on FightHype. And Bernard let me know that with all these fights going to Saudi Arabia or potentially going to Saudi Arabia, fights like Haney Lomachenko, that it's if not now, when for people to work together. And so, maybe there's a chance. If you're a boxing fan, and especially in America, you probably want to hope that things go well Ryan Tank Fight Week and that some dinners go down at Wolfgang Puck between the powers that be, so that if Golden Boy does wind up promoting Crawford, they could do, because Bob Arum all along said, well, they need two promoters to make that fight, and maybe PBC feels like Crawford's a headache. Well, then maybe Golden Boy could deal with their headache and deal with Crawford. But most of the time these promoters want to keep things in house. So I would think that Golden Boy would want to keep things in house and make a Crawford versus Ortiz, but maybe they take Ortiz and try, and if things go well, April 22nd fight week, they try to make Spence and Virgil in Texas. I'd have to see that to believe it. So we're just evaluating the situation with the latest news. Again, Crawford Spence not out of the question. Maybe this is an act of a little bit of not desperation, but Golden Boy saying, it's been a few weeks since we met with Terence and he still hasn't signed with us or anything. Let's go ahead and get the WBO to order this thing already to expedite the process, so that the longer that goes on without us agreeing to terms, the more time there is for him to renegotiate a fight and come to terms with Spence. So we don't know. But we'll have to wait and see as we continue on in this crazy sport, in this crazy business. And a few other things I wanted to go on about is, Katie Taylor, Amanda Serrano got postponed. It was going to happen May 20th in Dublin, but it gets pushed back due to an injury sustained by Amanda Serrano. The teams are finding a revised date for the bout, and that's cool and all, but that fight still makes the most sense for women's boxing because how much business it brought the first time and how great of a fight it was. But I feel like Alicia Baumgartner in the time since last April, when that fight happened, has surpassed Amanda Serrano currently. Serrano still has the accolades of all the division titles. She's built up. She still has, the longevity. But I think as of today, right now, February 28th, 2023, Alicia Baumgardner is the better fighter pound for pound in her prime right now over Serrano, who's into her 30s now and been in a lot of wars, is still one of the best in the biz. But if for some reason there's something else that prohibits this fight from being revised and rescheduled, I'd like to see Baumgardner move up. She's already undisputed at 30. I'd like to see her move up and fight Katie Taylor. I favor Taylor to beat Serrano again. That first fight was great. Serrano almost had Taylor out, but I favor Taylor to beat her again, and I'd like to see that Baumgardner fight at some point. But before we move on to it, I want to take a look at my man Tony Harrison. Shout out to our guy Nick Noonan down in Australia, catching Tony Harrison arriving for his March 12th interim WBO super welterweight fight with Tim Tszyu. And I love the energy Tony's coming. I'm picking Tim Tszyu to win that fight, but I do love the energy Tony Harrison's coming to Australia with, and it's the kind of energy that leads me to believe he has a fantastic chance of proving me and a lot of people wrong overseas. So, but first, before we close on all of that, I'm sure you guys got some questions on Spence and Crawford Rocha, Crawford and Virgil Ortiz and Golden Boy and all this stuff going on. And let me go ahead and check. Truth versus Boots, IBF, a possibility. It is a possibility, Marvelous, but Ennis doesn't yet loom as a draw or an attraction, and that's the kind of fight Spence is looking at for this juncture in his career. Without Crawford, it gets a little tricky for Spence on what's a big fight. Him and Jermell Charlo to us is a huge fight. I don't know if that's a huge pay-per-view, and then they're like, they're friends. They have a brotherhood training alongside each other for several years with Derek James. The Fundora fight is a fun fight and would be a Showtime pay-per-view. And Fundora does bring in maybe a certain Latin audience, the Mexican-American audience, but he hasn't, wowed people, wowed us in the ring with the action he brings us. He's one of the most action-friendly fighters in boxing today, and he'd be competitive with Errol Spence. That'd be a tough fight for Spence, but that's not a huge pay-per-view fight. So, things get tricky over there, but Spence versus Thurman will draw a decent number, relatively speaking. But Sean Morrison said Sean got Harrison beating Tim Tszyu. I got Tim Tszyu winning that fight, but I would not be surprised if Tony Harrison shuts that up. You ain't got the answer, Sean, says Keen Mitch. I don't. We're just evaluating the scene, the latest news. We don't have the answers just yet. There's a few directions this could still go in. We could still get Spence Crawford for Undisputed. Maybe this, makes it a do-or-die moment. It's like, all right, are we going to do this fight next or not? Because now the WBO helps sanction this, and or maybe we do wind up getting a welterweight unification at the end of the year. Virgil and Terence for the WBA and the WBO titles. We don't know what's up next. Maybe Golden Boy and PBC hit it off fight week, and they go, you know what, forget Crawford, we'll make Virgil versus Spence at Cowboy Stadium. We'll make Charlo versus Munguia. We'll make Virgil versus Spence, hot off the heels of Ryan versus Tank. We'll keep doing big fights because we got to compete with this new power overseas in Saudi Arabia, So I don't know. It's fun to speculate. I do know that Rocha is not as bad as people will shit on him as if this fight does wind up. He's a huge underdog, and Thurman still regards as a more credible opponent. But Rocha at 25 years old, 6 straight wins, 4 of them by knockout, one of them over Blair Cobbs, who was an undefeated guy at the time, and he was competitive in that Ellis fight since, and he was so. It's not a horrible matchup. Rocha is a very fundamentally sound southpaw with some decent pop in his left hand, but yeah. So an asteroid is more likely to destroy the world tomorrow than Spence vs. Bud happening ever, says Dolphin Time. Well, Dolphin Time, and I do love I'm a Niners fan, but I love the Dolphins too. Then let's move on to holding their feet to the fire for the other fights. Okay. You guys still got legacies to seal. You still got careers to uphold as the top 2 of the top 5 pound-for-pound fighters in the game. Spence, go ahead and fight Jermell. Go ahead and fight Jerron Boots Ennis. Go, Terrence, go make that Virgil. One of you guys fight Virgil then, because we know fighting out of Texas and the Mexican-American fan base that he's going to be a draw fighting against other marquee fighters. So If we're not gonna get Spence and Crawford, we got to get something, man, by the end of the year. Whether it's Virgil and Crawford, somehow by some way, Virgil and Spence, So we'll see. But let me see here. Thurman versus Spence is the only fight I'm waiting for, says Tip Bayless. Let's go, Keith. And while we're on the subject of Spence and Thurman, let me pull up a picture of that. That's not the fight people were asking for, obviously. I think that's probably fight number 3 for Spence. Fight number 1, actually it might be fight number 4. Fight number 1 would be Crawford. Fight number 2 would probably be Boots. Fight number 3 would be Virgil. And fight number 4 would be Keith Thurman. But it does beat Avanesian and Rocha if we have to keep comparing Spence and Crawford, although that kind of gets both of them off the hook sometimes. So yeah, Thurman, Spence. And, well, here it is. Why not? Never mind. Alright, well, that backfired. But Thurman and Spence, there we go. That'll work. That's, Thurman isn't athletically the fighter he once was, but in his Mario Barrios fight, he still looked savvy and still explosive compared to the rest of the field. His legs aren't what they were. He can't use that excessive lateral movement all around the ring like he did against Sean Porter back in 2016, but maybe, in a way, that might be good because he has to step over and be more efficient, and he was a little more efficient with his movements against Mario Barrios, but ultimately, Keith Thurman's dangerous in this fight in the first half. He's got to hurt Spence early, and that's Keith's game. Like, Keith dropped Leonard Bundu in the first round and then played keep away oddly. He hurt Danny Garcia so well in the first round that it kind of tamed Danny and kept Danny timid the rest of the fight, and hurting him with that right hand in the first. He hurt Sean Porter. It hurt early in the second round against Sean Porter. So he's going to have to hurt Errol Spence, and he does have better punching power than Yordenis Ugas, who buzzed Errol Spence. And Spence got buzzed a few times against fighters early on as a prospect here and there. Against one tall southpaw, hit him with a good left hand early in his career. But if Keith can't stop Errol in the first 6 or hurt him badly to where he makes Errol think twice and messes up his rhythm early in that fight, Keith's going to get stopped late in that fight, or at least lose a unanimous decision, getting beat down to the body, getting beat down by the work rate of Spence down the stretch of that fight. So, but that fight still isn't official, just wait to see. Rod Stewart, is Thurman Spence actually official or nah? Or nah is the answer still. So, and neither is Crawford Rocha, but Keith almost got stopped by Josecito Lopez and has a weak gut. He's done and looking for 401k, says Stiff Jabs. That is not an unpopular opinion. There's a lot of people who feel like that. But Keith's body at the weigh-in, pause as the kids say, right? But Keith's body at the weigh-in versus Mario Barrios looked better than it ever did when he was champion. And he was still pretty dominant in that fight. So, maybe Keith still got a couple surprises left in him against Spence, at least early, at least in the first half. Let's look at Keith Thurman, weigh-in, Barrios. Keith Thurman, weigh-in versus Barrios. My man was jacked. And, that doesn't win fights, but my man was jacked, to his credit. And if you look at Keith Thurman weigh-in when he was actually the champion, Keith Thurman weigh-in, Danny Garcia. Yeah, as you can see, Keith is actually, looks physically in better shape now than he did then. Now, his legs aren't what they were then. That's usually the first thing to kind of take a hit once you hit your 30s is the legs. But yeah, his legs aren't the same. But he's still explosive and still has punching power. So, and Errol Spence, is there to be hit, especially when he fights, trying to be the bulldozer and just walk you down behind the jab and start digging to the body, when he doesn't try to keep it long like he did against Mikey Garcia. And if that's how he comes in from round 1 against Keith Thurman, he can get caught early with something by Thurman. That's Thurman's best chance in that fight. If he tries to pace himself, it won't work. He'll get stopped over 12. He won't be able to hold up to that pace and body work. But, we just breaking it down. Nathan Cano, Sean Porter was one of the few guys from PBC who fought everyone and never used that lame duck excuse like you're on the wrong side of the street, fought everyone. Who, in your opinion, won Charlo versus Harrison 1? I thought it's possible that got away from Charlo because of his punch output. So he gave Harrison a chance to take that fight, and Harrison buzzed him with a right hand, I think, in round 9. So that was a very close fight. Could have went either way. It went Harrison's way. I don't want to say fortunate to get the benefit of the doubt, but it could have went either way. And usually in that scenario, the champion would get the benefit of the doubt, but Harrison did. Charlo didn't let his hands go enough. That's a problem he has sometimes. That's a problem he had in the first Castaño fight and in the first Harrison fight. But he wound up righting his wrong and being twice kind of did the Kovalev-Ward rematch where he showed up twice as good as the first fight and left no doubt the second time. Richard Bailey, did you make anything of the Spectrum supposed listing for Crawford and Spence? Yeah, we touched on it earlier, Richard, and I asked Bernard Hopkins about that, and I asked, because Bernard told me he still wants, should they sign Crawford, their first order of business is still to make a Spence-Crawford fight, and I asked him, well, is there any chance you guys have anything to do with this June rumor? And he just shot it down right away, no. So that's what I mean. If Spence Crawford is next, it's not going to be with Golden Boy, I think, promoting Terence Crawford. It would be that they finally came to terms. And I think at that point, if that is the case next, as slim as it may be, the WBO is not going to strip Crawford and take 3% of Rocha versus TBA. But Bernard Hopkins shot down any chance of Golden Boy having anything to do with a June pay-per-view. Steven Espinoza pretty much shot it down too. But, you never know. Fingers crossed, I guess. Let me see. So, the version of Thurman who fought Pacquiao would destroy this version of Spence, says Rory Long Corey. I'm not convinced of that. I would still pick Spence over the version that fought Pacquiao. I'd pick Spence either by decision or by late stoppage. I would still pick Spence, but that's just me. Weedy Gonzalez says $80 for a Canelo tune-up. Indeed. So, Bud, Rory Long Corey says Bud will smash Rocha, move up and take all of Jermel's belts, then maybe duck the Spence fight. Then maybe the duck, Spence will fight him, although I wouldn't be surprised. Well, you heard it from Errol. If he's not going to fight Errol, he's not going to wind up fighting Jermel. That just wouldn't happen. Crazy Horse saying Frisco, California MOB. Or Frisco, California Mob, either way. And we're going to close, by the way, today, too, with some Undisputed gameplay with Sergio Maravilla Martinez, the former middleweight champion from Argentina. We're gonna finish with that. But let's also take a look at Tony Harrison here. Let me turn on my computer audio and let you guys hear this for a minute. Tony Harrison, shout out to my man Nick Noonan holding it down in Australia for FightHype.
How you doing, mate? I wasn't expecting me to get here, but I'm here.
Yeah. Got a few words for Tim.
Huh?
A few words for Tim.
I'm here.
How you going, man?
Cody
from Fox Sports News.
You alright?
Yeah, man.
Emma,
You good?
how are you?
How's the flight?
Fucking long.
Yeah. So, have you been out here before?
No.
So yeah, again, just real quick, I love Tony. Like his personality that he brings. I love how he fights. I really love him going forward as a trainer because he learned so much from his father and from great Detroit trainers like Emmanuel Stewart that it's imperative that those jewels and the knowledge that was passed down to him continues to be passed down to the next generation of fighters. And guys that really have all the wisdom and knowledge and experience like Tony Harrison are the trainers that are needed the most in boxing. So I got a lot of love for Tony, but I do keep it objective. And I know the book is out on Tony, whether it's the Jarrett Hurd fight, the Jermel Charlo rematch, or going all the way back to Willie Nelson. He's fast. He's very smart. He's a very good boxer. He's 6'1". He's tall and long at 154. He can actually, despite that, he's got a good left hook to the body, like he showed in the middle rounds against Jermel Charlo. He's got a good inside game. His problem is he fades in the second half of fights. And maybe being 6'1", getting down to 154, those legs take a hit. He doesn't take a punch well once he fades late in fights. And those guys, despite him piecing them up earlier on in those fights, he eventually got stopped. And Tim Tszyu is a relentless pressure fighter who does have legitimate punching power, and he has a hell of a left hook to the body. so that when he pins Tony Harrison on the ropes, because he knows how to cut the ring off, guys like Julio Cesar Chavez, his daddy, Costa Tszyu, Gennady Golovkin, that's who Tim Tszyu has some of that DNA in him. He will pin Tony on the ropes repeatedly, and when Tony's slick up top, he's got an accurate thudding left hook to the body to drop down. But that being said, Tony, with his hand speed and experience and boxing skills, could definitely piece up Tim Tszyu, and I love the energy he's showing, and let's take a look at it.
I don't know. I ain't gonna never come back out here again either.
It is a long fight coming out down under. How have you found it?
I mean, I know it was tough, man. It was a tough flight, man. We had to pull over, catch a camel, catch a go-kart, get on the bike. But, you know, I know they wouldn't
Matt
expect me
Tree
to
saying
get
no stand-up.
Have you ever been to Australia before?
Never. And I probably won't be back. That flight is way too long.
That Australian girl thought that was savage. No, and I'll probably never be back.
Where are you going to be training and where are you going to set up here?
That's confidential right now. I know y'all want all the inside access, but
Yeah, Tony's like, damn, man, you Australian report. By the way, shout out to Nick Noonan, because this shit is in like 8K. And I'm sorry again for the connection today, guys. I don't know what's going on with my internet, but
In US training for Vietnam, which is for Charlie, you're here for less than 2. Is that enough time for you?
I mean, all I need is a ring. You know, I don't need the time. I just need a ring.
Tony, you look real fit. Some of the
love that attitude.
like you look like you're been in really good shape for the last little while. How do you feel?
I feel amazing. I feel amazing. Like I said, Tim called me at the right time. You know what I mean? Wrong time for him, right time for me.
Shout out to G's G saying, hey, I just wanted to tell you that you did a brilliant job with the Paul Fury fight. You reminded me of an old school commentator from the past. Nice job. Appreciate that, man.
I know that you've been pretty disparaging with some of the comments around Tim, and like I guess when you've been over and you've grown up in Detroit, in the Kronk gym, and training with all those legends week in, week out, you must feel like for him, you're a step too far.
I mean, I think for Tim, you know, I'm a step a little bit too far. You know what I mean? But like I said, I'm looking for the hostility. I'm ready for the hostility, to be honest.
Given some of those comments about Tim, are you ready for the Australian crowd to be against you? You're going to feed off that?
Listen to me. If they love Tim, they gonna love me. They have no choice but to love me if they love Tim, because I am the total opposite of Tim. I'm vibrant. I got a lot of humility. He quiet, and if they like him, man, I'm telling you, they like him, they gonna love me.
You know, like I just wonder if you how much you were in the back of your mind that you thought this Charlo fight would eventuate again. I know that it's obviously everybody wants the Charlo fight, and you got to get through Tim to get there. But this has been on your mind for a long time, hasn't it?
I mean, the first task in hand is Tim. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but he wants that third Charlo fight bad. You already know.
I'm not overlooking Tim. You know, I talk my shit, but Tim is a tough competitor. You know what I mean? So I'm looking forward to a rough and tough fight. I'm looking forward for 12 good rounds or shorter. But I've trained for the long haul. You know what I mean? And I know I got a tough competitor in front of me and fighting in front of his fans and family and crowd, and that's like I said, step at a time. It's a step at a time for me. But come March 12th, y'all in for a rude awakening.
Some might say.
And on that, good stuff. Y'all in for a rude awakening. Yeah, I love the energy from Tony, and you know, my fellow American, you know, if he proves me wrong or proves everyone wrong, I will happily eat crow and crown him the new WBO interim champ, and I'll look forward to that third fight with Charlo, because Tony Harrison, in the last 5 years that I've been covering boxing, he launched the best verbal assault in the lead up to that rematch against Jermell Charlo. I mean, better than Tyson Fury and all his shit talking, better than you know, Josh Taylor against Jose Ramirez, and Caleb Plant, and is a good talker, and on. But Tony Harrison in that rematch with Jermell Charlo 2019 put on a James Toney-esque verbal assault that was one for the ages. So I'm down for fight number 3. It's just that I do think Tim, the young bull, fighting at home, he may get pieced up early, but he's tough. I think with his body work and his ability to cut off the ring and pin Tony on the ropes repeatedly, I got to go with Tim in the second half of that fight. But shout out to Tony Harrison, and win or lose, man, I want him to be one of the great trainers in boxing, because I already know he's very capable of it. I already know he's got it. So, did I see Matias versus Ponce? Asked Manny Flores. Indeed I did, man. That was a great fight. Ponce giving up his height, you know, wanted to bang with the shorter guy. who's very comfortable in mid to close range with a little bit more power than he's got, and it cost him, but it was fun to watch while it lasted. Rod Stewart says, I'll be honest, I never seen Tim throw down. Tim's good. He's not just hyped up because of his dad's last name, and he's a tough white Australian kid that can punch. He's good. He's a good pressure fighter who knows how to cut the ring off. His defense gets a little bit better as the fight goes on, and not a one-punch knockout artist, but he's a triples hitter. He's not a home run hitter, but he's a legit triples hitter. He's got some solid pop. Good uppercut too. And knows how to knows how to cut the ring off. One of the guys in the sport today that knows how to cut the ring off. So him and Tony's a great fight. Look at the boxing sources. It wasn't as good as Jermel's response. Look at him to me, pitiful. Gangsters Playground King Joker said Crawford and Spence are both past their prime. They are not getting any better and have already shown a decline. Marvelous Irv, shout out to the Kronk Gym. Yep. Let me see what else. Let me see. So, but yeah, with that, man, let's, hey, Sean, you still want that Undisputed smoke with Showbiz? He gave away $30,000 cash? Are you serious, Metal Hendrix? Yes, of course. Yeah, we really do got to get that in. So let's close the show with my man Sergio Martinez. Hold on, what happened here? Steam is tripping on me trying to say, we can't sync your game. Warning, Steam was unable to sync your Undisputed saves with the Steam. If you play now, you may not have previous game progress and permanently lose it. That sucks. Is there any way we could avoid this scenario? Fuck it. Alright, fuck it, chat. I may have lost everything I ever gained on Undisputed. No, I doubt it. It should be alright. But they did drop Sergio Martinez today in Undisputed. So you know your boy wants to get some matches in on Undisputed. Let's let it. Shout out to the chat for rocking with me. We had about 250 to 300 in here.
Yeah.
Online connection has to be made. Yeah, connect. That's crazy. You say he know how to cut off the ring. Boxing Gems thinks otherwise. Oh, wait. Hold up. We don't want no copyright with this audio. One moment. I'm going to turn off all that music. Oh, wait, and it's too loud over here on my monitor, too. Hold up. We do not want the UK rappers to make a bag off of FightHype on copyright. We're not trying to have that happen. Sorry, UK rappers on the Undisputed soundtrack. And your record labels. Boom, 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 boom. Yes. All right, they got to add more fighters. Well, they started today, Boxing Source, with Sergio Maravilla Martinez. So, Arm says he gives away more than anyone. Hectic Nasty, what's up, brother? Jacoby LX said, I was literally just about to tell you Sergio Martinez got in the game, but I heard they didn't make him unique. They gave him a really good jab. He's kind of slow, despite what his speed rating says, but I mean, you know me, I'll be good with him no matter what. I'll get busy. Here we go. Sergio Martinez. They gave him a 91 on speed. He is the fourth highest rated middleweight in the game. Number 1 is Roy. Number 2 is Ray. Number 3 is Canelo. Number 4 is Maravilla. And number 5 is Sugar Ray Leonard. So, let's get it. Let's get it with Maravilla Martinez. Boston's. Good to see Boston's again. Gladdy said, win or lose, Lil Charlo, the Undisputed World Champion. Give him his respect. Absolutely. I love Jermell Charlo. One of my favorite guys to watch go to work in the game. Low priority. Dang, they gave me low priority because my internet is tripping today, folks. Let me see if maybe I back out. Back in, I could get a better match. No, they're giving me low priority today. They're not feeling the internet connection. Boxing Source says likes Linares in this game. Yeah, hopefully we can still find a match, even with low priority. Maybe, nah, it'll be alright. Let me check chat. Glad to witness Sergio fight. Solid. Yeah, Sergio was really good. He was, honestly, and I love Miguel Cotto. I got Cotto on my wall behind me, but Cotto wouldn't have beat Sergio Martinez before Martinez's knee injury in the last round of that Chavez fight. He got injured. I was at that fight. Actually, I recorded the 12th round. You can find it on YouTube still on Bleacher Report Boxing, my old channel. But he injured his knee in that 12th round knockdown against Chavez, and really he probably should have lost the middleweight title to Martin Murray in Argentina, his next fight. And then by the time he fought Cotto, he was just a shell of himself. And crazy enough, this man is actually rated number 2 by the WBA right now as we speak. But I love Cotto, but Maravilla would have killed Cotto. Not killed Cotto. He would have beat Cotto in his prime. But it worked out for Cotto, man. He got to become the lineal middleweight champion, which no one ever expected to happen in his career. So, all right, we got to take on Sugar Ray Robinson. And I want to thank you guys for dealing with our technical difficulties, man. I got to get Cox Cable out here in Las Vegas is some of the worst internet providers you could get, but we're sticking through it. And we appreciate you guys. Do you know which fight those trunks Martinez are wearing from? Yeah, I know it's from one of his biggest. I think it's from the Chavez fight. But is it actually from the Williams rematch when he knocked out Williams, or is it from the Pavlik fight? And it's from one of his biggest fights. I know that. It might have been the Chavez fight, the Chavez Jr. fight. So, all right, I'll try and keep it a little lifelike. We got to fight in loose stance the whole fight. Like that's only right with Martinez. He quit. He quit, guys. By the way, he quit, and that's why I'm called Noma Shanko now. Check out my name, you'll see. Here we go. So he quit. That's a surrender. And that's why your boy is getting called, as you see, Noma Shanko. That's what I call myself at this game now, because everyone just rage quits when they fight me. So there you go. Noma Shanko FightHype. That's my name out here. Noma Shanko. Alright, let's see if we can actually get someone to not quit and to play me with Sergio Martinez. Let's try here. Ranked. What happened to me in ranked? They wiped my whole ranked record, y'all. They wiped my whole ranked record. I'm 0-0 now. Because of the save cloud. They wiped everything. What happened? You still see I'm level 26 up in... whatever, man. It's early access. I can't trip. But that hurts, man. They fucked me. They fucked me. Maybe... It could just be my internet so terrible today that it's not downloading my information from the cloud or whatever. We'll try and get another fight, man. We'll try and get another fight. If we can't get another fight, or if they rage quit, we're going to have to just call Cox Cable out here in Vegas, get better internet, and then on the next stream I'll whoop people up with Sergio Martinez. But that hurts. Oh, wow. Cloud wasn't backed up? No, I guess not, man. My computer's just tripping today. They said my rankings are no mas Sean, said Johnny Worlds. That's fucked. You guys on the previous streams know I got 225 wins and unranked, 15-0 in ranked. Now that shit is all gone. I'm hoping... Let me restart Undisputed, man. 'Cause this shit hurts. This shit hurts. Hold on. Nah, it's become too long now. Let's just get another match and see if we can get through this game. What's up, Metal Hendrix? Man, that hurts. What a L. What a L this stream has been because of the internet. I shouldn't have went through with saying, okay, the cloud might not be backed up. Let's just play anyways. Can't. Johnny's World, it's on PC, man, so. Yeah, if we can't find a match in another minute, I'll just call it a wrap on this stream from hell with terrible internet. Well, thank you guys for rocking with me this far. Reboot? Yeah, I want to reboot, but then I'd have to reboot the whole freaking stream, man. Let me try to reboot the game. Let me get out of here. Let me try this. Oh, man, that backup cloud, that hurts. But it is just early access, so I try not to let it be too serious. But it hurts. Like a motherfucker. Is David Benavidez in the game? No, not yet, at least. Not confirmed in it either, but let me see. I can't get Undisputed to boot back up. Damn, chat. Oh, Undisputed is still downloading, too. It's downloading something. What's it downloading? Oh, it's a quick patch. Alright, we might be good then after 2 minutes. I guess it still had a little something to download. Maybe after this download, all my stuff will be back. Fingers crossed. G's saying take care. Look forward to the next fight you're commentating. Have a good one, G's. Be back in the building. I'll be Saturday. I'll be ringside in Southern California for Brandon Figueroa versus Mark Magsayo. So, let me see. Gladdy said, don't let them make the Shakur versus Devin fight right now. That's exactly what the boxing powers want them to be, to take each other out. Well, I mean, it's not about taking each other out. That's what the name of the game is. The best fight the best. So, inevitably, one of them has to take the other out. But it doesn't look like, you know, I saw the post from Bill Haney where he said Top Rank didn't officially offer a fourth fight option with Shakur yet. Shakur and Devin went back and forth about that. I'll cover that, you know, on another live later. But, you know, I don't know. That fight could use a little marination still, even though we've lived in the over-marination era. But that fight could still use a little more build-up between Devin and Shakur. But, all right. Update is done. Let's see if we can run Undisputed now. If not, we'll just call it a wrap, chat. Who do I got? Figueroa versus Magsayo. I got to lean towards Figueroa because I think that fight comes down to, can Magsayo hurt him with the right hand or not? If he can't hurt Figueroa significantly with the right hand, he'll get overwhelmed by Figueroa's activity and relentlessness. So, yeah, what is going on? Okay, looks like maybe Undisputed is finally booting back up. Cool. We'll give it one more chance, chat, and if not, it just wasn't meant to be today. Give it one more chance, chat. Oh, I got my record back, chat! Woo! 15-0. Oh, thank God. Thank God. 15-0, 242 wins on Unranked. Oh, it's a beautiful afternoon. Oh, the real song goes morning, but we'll amend it. We'll amend it apparently like the British anthem got amended. Now you have to say God Save the King. Ooh, attempting to join. No low priority, no nothing. Let's go, chat. Let's go. Let's piece some people up with Martinez. And we got the match in 1 second. Let's fucking go, chat. Let's go. Let's end it right. Those of you who didn't leave during all those technical difficulties, you're beautiful people. You are beautiful people.
Is Johnny
Let's
Nelson.
go.
It's going to be
who we taking on? Another Martinez? We're going to show him the real Martinez, y'all.
This is just one of those.
We're going to show him the real Martinez. They took off my Nomashanko nickname, though. And apparently this is a new arena they gave us. Y'all ready for your boy Nomashanko? Damn, we're down to just 50 people in the chat. They all said we can't stay here through this shit, but for those of you who are staying with me, let's style on somebody with Martinez to close the show. Your boy is Black Trunks Martin. Oh, no, they got my name right there. No Mas
Nice
Shanko.
punch.
Oops, a little slow there. There we go.
Oh, and he
There we go.
with a stiff jab.
Oops, oops, oops. Okay, okay. Give me a moment here, chat, and then we'll just start to dominate. That's what we do. Catching my shots early. There we go.
The crowd has settled into their seats. They are ready to see something special at this amazing venue.
You're getting everything tonight, and you know what? When you're in the theatre, you know you've got to perform. There's no cutting corners. There's no making up excuses because you're.
But yeah, Martinez,
so
man,
transparent.
one of the better middleweights. Not one of the best, but one of the better middleweight champions in boxing history. He was pretty good. Great hand speed, great movement,
Takes that jab.
unorthodox kind of style. Great 1-2s, and then move off. Could move for 12 rounds all night. Was a really good athlete. Got way better after early in his career. He got stopped by Antonio Margarito on the Morales. Actually, that was on the Morales Barrera undercard. There we go. Touch that body. Piece him up top.
These two were
What's this game called? B. Tomas' Undisputed. Right now, we're just countering him with the straight left. There's a jab, counter.
This round still up for grabs with just 10 seconds to go.
Yep, counter, finish to the body, jab, jab. And one zip against this 53 fight veteran.
Who's winning this fight right now? I have no idea. So important.
Creed 3, who's gonna see? I saw the first Creed. I haven't seen the second one.
Which fighter's gonna
Love
get first?
well, all but Rocky 5, but yeah, I love the original Rocky movies. Rocky 1 being the best one, Rocky 3 being the second best one, Rocky 4 being the third best one, Rocky 2 being, and then Rocky 5 the last one. And then Rocky Balboa was cool on its own.
Oh, and he caught him with an uppercut.
I mean, even for Rocky, very unrealistic, but still enjoyed parts of it, I guess. Especially when he talks about how tough you could get hit and keep going forward. That's what winning's done. Oh, hold on. Focus in here and piece this other Martinez up. Ooh. Still getting the hang of Martinez's style in this game.
He didn't take that jab well at all.
Boom, straight left hand counter. That's been the punch for me early with this guy. There it is again. There it is again. There it is again. I make these guys not really want to fight, man. You guys see it every stream. Boom! That's how you finish up. Work levels with your combinations, yeah? Oh. Levels.
Should we be surprised if these two fighters go the distance tonight, considering
straight left counter into the uppercut. Oh,
The middleweights are the best.
back to the jab. We'll throw some 1-2s in there eventually. To the body. Uh-oh. It's starting to look like No Mas Shanko territory. You might want to quit soon. He's not really engaging that much. He's just getting countered. 2-zip. Marvelous Herb says stay in the pocket. I would, man, but there's no pocket to stay in. He's leaving and leaving and leaving. I will stay in the pocket more, though. I know what you mean. Don't give ground to get away from any shots. Stay on top of him. Is this game going to PS5? It is. It is. Body head, no mas. You got it. Tech Dumb Dad. Yeah, he's ready to go soon.
Gonna get clipped first.
Here we go. Oh, look. Is that it? No Mas Shanko strikes again? Okay, no, he's still fighting. Oh, okay. I got countered. Getting a little greedy with the combo. Bop, 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 bop. And back out and reset. Bop, bop, bop. Let's throw some power jabs on him then, since we're touching him with the jab so much. There we go. Let's make it worth it. Stay that body. To the head. Back to the body. Oh, okay. Got a little greedy. We're piecing them up though, chat. Like always, here on FightHype Live, we always piece them up. Always easy work. It'll be nice when I fight someone aggressive so I could really style on them like Martinez would. Because, you know, this guy also using Martinez, and I just got to stay on, you know, I'm the aggressor. But I could really do cooler stuff with Martinez off the back foot.
He just misses with that jab.
You don't want to stay in there with me. Oh. Still counter you, bro. I'll stay on top of you and just counter you to death.
Who's going to have more endurance?
Midway through the fight, if you are tired, this can be the loneliest place in the world.
Power jab coming. Power jab coming.
Very close round with 10 seconds to go.
Let me try that Paul Williams left hand. Bam! There it is. Oh, I missed with it. Let me try it a couple more times though, Chad. I'll try that Paul Williams left hand. 3-zip. 3-zip.
Every round is so important.
That was super tight.
Regular jab, power straight will end him. Teched up. Yeah, you're right. I'll mix in that Paul Williams left hand. I'll mix it in. I've just been touching him with the left hand, but I'll mix it in. 3-zip. No Mashanko. The question is, will I stop him or will he quit first? That's usually the question in these fights on FightHype Stream.
He just misses with that big right hand.
We're going to try and walk him into the Paul Williams. Bam! Trying it. I don't like eating that body shot on my way out. Oh, there it is. Paul Williams left hand. Okay, sure.
When your opponents hit you with their best
is this PvP Will Foster? Yeah, I'm playing someone. His name is Lord Jord X WP. He's got 29 wins in rank, 25 losses. Decent veteran journeyman I'm taking on. You know. Oh, okay, Martinez, I see you. I've wasted too much stamina in this round. Come on, man. Let me fight off the back foot just a little bit.
And there he caught him with a stiff jab.
Bam! That's what we want to walk him into, the Paul Williams.
Talk about punches and bunches. That's the mantra for this fighter with that exceptional hand speed.
There it is. Oh, I want to knock him out with that. Oh, come on, game. You can't take those. There it is again.
That creates frustration, and that's when it gets hard.
If we could just stop him with the Paul Williams shot, that would be awesome. Come on. Oh, we hurt him. Down he goes. Down he goes, chat. Let's do a little. There we go, chat. There we go, chat. We mixed in the straight left hand. Look, the lights are too bright. 5. He don't even want to try to count. That's a quit. That's a knockout, but that's also another no Mashanko moment. Because the man quit. The man didn't even try to beat the count.
You heard that right, ladies and gentlemen. A knockout victory and one of the biggest surprises.
There we go.
What a build-up.
There we go. Y'all know what I do.
This fight. What a fight itself. The crowd enjoyed it. The fights enjoyed it.
I love you, FightHype chat. This is what we do. We're undefeated still on the stream. You know what's coming next. Does anyone in the chat know what's coming next? What is the annual ritual after each dub? What do we call it here? It's 2 words. I'm gonna wait a second. I hope someone in the chat knows what we go to after each dub. What is it? Yeah, that power straight was there all day. You're right. I could have used it earlier, but we pieced his ass up. I'm gonna wait another second. I hope we know what it is. Soul Rebel says that was sick. Yeah, 26-9 in counters. He had a 39% connect percentage. I had 50%. All right, no one said what it was. We go to the winner's cam. That's always what we call it after we get the dub on with this even with the horrible connection. It's the winner's cam. So go to the winner's cam. The question is, chat, do we play one more, or are you guys good? Was that all the Undisputed you needed? Or with Maravilla just coming out today, do I got to whip one more person's ass with Maravilla? Or is this internet so terrible we call it a day? Fire in my bones. We call it the winner cam. Fire in my bones after every dub. And is the connection even good enough to warrant a second match, or do we close after that knockout after 2 no mas moments? Jacoby said gotta do one more. You know what? It's a little rough today, chat. We'll call it a day, I guess, for Maravilla for today. Yeah, the winner cam, you already know. One more dub, no mas. I want to, man, but the internet is just, I don't even know. I feel like it's probably dropping frames in the middle of the fight. Is it? Or when we go to the fight, it's fine. Check. Can't stop, won't stop, Samantha. Do I do another one, Samantha? I'm looking back at the footage. It looks like it doesn't lag when I was... Oh, no, it does. All right, we'll call it a day, chat. Thank you, everyone, for joining in. Crawford, Rocha, definitely not confirmed, but something else to get in the way of Spence Crawford and making it undisputed. Doesn't mean Spence Crawford still can't happen next and be for undisputed. But for all the latest, just keep it locked in right here. Here on FightHype. We'll be back next time with actually really good internet, hopefully, and no stuttering, no problems there. So shout out to everyone who was on the chat today, and have a good one. Metal Hendrix is a New Age Fulton official, not official yet, but I've heard nothing, no hurdle. I haven't heard anything to say that the fight's not going to happen. So nothing but good news on that front when you talk to people in the business. I hope everyone has a great day. Thanks for bearing with us through some technical difficulties in the live. If you came in late, go ahead and rewind it to circle back on everything. Crawford, Spence, Rocha, Virgil Ortiz, Golden Boy, PBC, all that. So thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and I'll catch you later.